My most memorable race would probably be the Warwickshire Bear Ultra that I did last year. So it was a 60k, ended up being about 65, 66 because I touched over 40 miles. But with the fact that I'd never done more than a 50k before, just that extra 10, 15k on top of that really taught me something about myself. Obviously I had to plan my nutrition a bit differently and just a bit more mental resilience, and yeah, I'm looking forward to tackling a 50 mile later on this year.
My most memorable event slash accomplishment is of course Ultra X Jordan. So Ultra X Jordan is a 250 kilometre race through the desert, which is the Wadi Rum in Jordan. It was a 5-day event, and oh my gosh, it was life changing. Like, my heart belongs to that desert and I will be back as soon as I physically can be. The best thing about it is not obviously only the accomplishment, the people that you meet, the way you push your mind and your body, but it's not just about those 5 days in the desert. It's about the months and months of hard work, commitment, dedication that lead up to it. And when you finish and when you cross that finish line under the famous Ultra X Blue Arch, it is like nothing else. Like, nobody can describe that feeling. Like, best thing ever.
It might not be my best out and out performance. My most memorable performance or race is probably London Marathon in, I think it was 2018, just because it was one of those races where everything goes perfectly and nothing goes wrong, which I don't think I've had in any other race ever. I kind of started out a little bit too fast, except that I then ran even splits throughout and I didn't slow down. I didn't really feel bad at any point, which is mad for a marathon, but I think that also, along with the crowds and the support and then my partner at the finish, made it probably my most memorable race today.
My most memorable achievement is probably my 100-mile buckle. I'm not going to say my 100-mile finish, but my 100-mile buckle, because I actually DNF'd it the first time I did it, and that is part of my most memorable achievement. I entered it way too soon. I'd only been running for 6 months, 8 months when I entered it, and I saw other people doing it and thought, I can do that. And I entered it and I was cocky, and I didn't really give it the credit it deserved. And it taught me a lesson when I DNF'd. And so for the next year I trained and I trained and I trained, and I came back, and crossing the finish line, it wasn't just about that race, it was about the one the year before. So I think probably what's the DNF taught me more about that than actually the finishing. But crossing that finish line on year 2 was definitely the biggest achievement I've had so far. But it was a journey that lasted 2 races, not just the one.
The most memorable race has got to be 24-hour track race in India. I had such a great time. I think due to like the COVID situation and all that, just getting out to another country was special in itself. It was one of them races where you spend ages in training, practicing for like the unexpected. You know, practicing what would you do if it's really hot conditions. What would you do if your stomach was upset? What nutrition take? When to take it? Cooling strategies, everything like that. And then when you come to a race, it never happens. But this race just had everything. It was brilliant. So that was probably one of my most favourite races.
I'm here to talk about the most memorable race I had, and it was Ironman Vichy 2017. That was my 3rd Ironman race. A little bit of a story behind the race that made that memorable to me was because in 2016 Boxing Day I had a complete tear of my ACL, and until February 2017 I was still walking on crutches. I decided to not have reconstruction surgery and instead just do physiotherapy. I was able to go back running around April 2017, and by August 2017 I was on the start line of my 3rd Ironman race. I finished the Ironman with a 4 hours 13 minutes marathon, which was amazing, with a little bit less than 4 months of running training. And I was very proud because by that time was my Ironman PB time, with around 1 hour 20 minutes less than my previous race. And that was the most memorable race I have to date.
My most memorable event is probably the How Girls Marathon that I ran last May. I was really nervous before the event. The day before I was crying to my husband because I felt so anxious, felt like I just couldn't do it. I hadn't put the hours of training in that other people had, and I really doubted myself. But when I got to the start line, I just thought, you've signed up for this because you love to run, and it's no more complicated than just putting one foot in front of the other and enjoying yourself. And immediately as I set off, I just got into a really, really good rhythm. I felt really strong, I felt really positive. I ate well, I just had a great day, and I ended up coming third female overall, and my son, who was 2 at the time, was handed to me as I ran up the finishing straight, and I grabbed him in my arms and ran across the finishing line with him, and absolutely just burst into tears because I couldn't believe that I had come third and been able to run that time just under 5 hours. So that was definitely a really memorable moment for me.